Okay, so recently I watched this video and holy shit, there are so many disingenuous points in it, I don't even know where to begin. And okay, just a quick disclaimer, I don't condone harassment, I don't mean to be mean to this guy or whatever, so don't go, fuck with this video, or don't go leave mean comments or whatever the fuck, right? I'm just addressing his points, that's it. Okay, so the main criticism this guy has about Vim is apparently setting it up takes too long. Okay.
Because setting up Vim is kind of a pain. If I compare the setup process for Vim versus the setup process for VS Code, it is a night and day difference. My VS Code setup is incredibly simple. I actually have a video of it that you can check it out right here, where I go over my entire setup process and I do not install that many plugins. I install maybe like 3 or 4 of them and then I'm good to go. But with Vim, because it's so bare bones to begin with, it requires a lot of initial investment to get your Vim setup to honestly be at feature parity with VS Code.
And okay, honestly, setting up Vim for the first time will take about 20 minutes max. Installing plugins is easy as fuck, okay? You just get a plugin manager. How to get a plugin manager? That's easy as fuck too. You run like one shell script, like a curl command or something, which you just copy and paste from the GitHub page. And the thing about Vim is, once you configure Vim, you don't really need to configure it ever again. Because with Vim, you can take your dot files. Okay, VS Code does not have any dot files. You can save your settings.json at most, but other than that, you don't really have any dot files at all. With Vim, you have your init.lua, init.vim or .vimrc, and with that you can just save it on your thumb drive along with your plugins as well, and it'll be about 90 megabytes, including everything, COC, Vimtech, and all these plugins that just extend functionality like crazy. And okay, this guy also talks about how ricing it gives him some kind of OCD.
The reason why I stopped using Vim was the fact that it was too customizable. I was initially that type of developer that loved customizing everything. Every little color that I can change, every tiny macro that I can map to a certain key movement, every new package to add like just a tiny bit more optimization within Vim. I loved doing
that. Is not a Vim problem, that is kind of a you problem. If you get OCD when you install Vim and you want to customize every little thing to make it 0.1% more efficient or whatever, that's kind of a you problem. Vim gives you the ability to customize virtually everything. This is a good thing. This whole logic of like, ooh, my IQ is higher because I use VS Code.
I love that internally. I also found that it actually made me less productive because...
And it limits me from customizing things. That's not the case. Blaming software for your mental state or mental problems or whatever, your OCD or whatever the fuck it is just a ridiculous thing. It takes like a special kind of bullshitting skill to do that. I don't even know how to say this, but like, you have a problem, right? You want to customize it or whatever too much to the point where it hurts your productivity, and then you blame that on the software and the extra options the software gives you. That is utterly fucking ridiculous. I mean, this guy's average with tech, but he's really good at bullshitting. So I'll give him that. Well played. And okay, speed. Now this...
And it's so much more lightweight. But if I'm being honest, and if you're being honest, does it really make that much of a difference? Like, truly. Does that extra, couple seconds of speed, does it really improve your...
This is actually a trigger point for me because I'm a minimalist software advocate. Now, this is a common deflection tactic as well. Many people will say, oh, that advantage doesn't matter, bro. That's just useless. That's just nitpicky. But no, performance and speed matter a lot. Bloat is very real. This is due to Fagman Corporation brainwashing. Fagman is like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and all those cunts, right? The CPU will handle it. That's the mentality of developers today. The CPU will handle it, bro. Oh, and if the CPU is not good enough, you need to buy a better CPU. Alright, just buy a better CPU. Just pay $20,000 fucking dollars to Apple to get the new M1, M69 MacBook Pro. Whatever the fuck, right? Developers these days do not write code efficiently because the CPU always compensates for it. They write code in inefficient languages like Python or whatever the fuck because the CPU, again, compensates for their bullshit. This is why no matter how good CPUs get, no matter how good graphics cards get, code is always going to be slow. Your Apple, Mail, or whatever the fuck, Safari will always take 5 seconds to boot, no matter how many fucking cores or Threadrippers you have in your fucking Ryzen M1, whatever the fuck these kids these days use, okay? Fuck efficiency. Just buy more products from a company that destroys the environment but pretends to care about it, right? This segment of his really shows how modern developers or modern people in general just don't give a fuck about performance at all. I made a point in my last video about Apple as well about this. The slacking devs, right? The speed is always going to stay the same because the software just gets shit and shit year by year, no matter how good the hardware gets. And okay, now let's get to the final, most disingenuous point of this whole video. People just use Vim because they're insufferable, egotistical pieces of shit who want to flex on the vscucks.
advantage and the biggest benefit to using Vim is kind of that cool factor, knowing that you're using Vim when everybody else is using VS Code. It's kind of like this weird gatekeeping programming mindset where Vim is known as like this purest form of coding. It's like the original text editor, there's no fluff, it's just Vim on its own. You feel kind of cool doing it. All right, come on, I know I'm not the only one. I know that there has to be other people that feel cooler using Vim compared to VS Code. And I will say, I think that there's something about that in this developer world being like, oh, I don't use VS Code, I use Vim. Something about that, like, kind of feeds your ego. Like, you feel cooler using Vim. I know I definitely do. And that's why I...
Right. They do this to gatekeep. People use Vim just so they can go, I use Vim. This is just not true. Vim is not a cult, okay? If anything, Apple is a cult. People who use Vim don't really give two fucks about them using Vim. If anything, when you become more competent, when you get more skills, when you learn more things, you actually become more humble and you start to take your own skills for granted. Vim users assume everybody else uses Vim and just knows more than them because they're more likely to be humble because they know more about the tools they use. When I learned Vim, I felt stupid for not knowing it all this time because of how easy and intuitive it is. I did not learn it so I can flex. This whole notion of gatekeeping in the software community, competent people do not gatekeep. If gatekeeping was a thing, documentation would not exist. Every Vim plugin, Vim itself comes with a tutor. It comes with help pages, man pages. They're called help tags. If you run the etch command in Vim, you will get a whole documentation telling you what you can do, how you can do it, what you can change, how to change that. Communities and forums online are also extremely supportive and they will answer your doubts as quickly as possible. Vim and FOSS software in general is not an elitist closed community. If anything, it's a community trying to make it more accessible to everybody else. The closed community are these proprietary cults like this guy who say things like, I'm a diehard Apple fan. You see, Vim users don't attach their identity. There's no such thing as a Vim user, okay? We don't attach our identity. There's no we, first of all. But let's just say there is, for simplicity's sake. We don't attach our identity to the way we do things, okay? We just get shit done efficiently. You guys, or there's no you either, but there kind of is a you, if you know what I mean. These fucking Apple users who are incompetent and they say, ooh, Vim is too hard. They're the ones doing the gatekeeping. They attach their identity to the retarded operating system they used. They attach their identity to Python because usually Python is the first programming language they teach in Computer Science 101 or whatever the fuck the courses are called. I don't consider myself a wizard or a geek. I don't expect Vim to triple my penis size. All of these memes are made by incompetent people to actually gatekeep skills so more people feel better about their incompetence and their inadequacy for not attaining the skills. This is why guys like him make videos like this. There is no rational reason in this whole video. This whole video he made is just a rationalization for why VS Code is better or why VS Code is better for me. The whole thing about the customizations, right? How we blame the software when it was actually his problem. Devs like this guy take technology for granted and sell their human rights for convenience, so they don't actually have to learn anything. They justify their incompetency, and then they knock down competent people and other skills so them and their bros can just be in their little circle jerk and not learn anything and stay the same throughout. Terminal users are just insufferable hipsters. Arch users are just losers who want to flex the neo-fetch. Vim users, well, they just do it for the cool factor. Obviously a very PC way of saying it, right? Oh, you learned something, if you learn how to make something efficient, well, you're just a loser. You're just a nerd. You need to watch Netflix and TikTok and tell me what you do for fun, bro, right? Vim users are just fat losers who will never get anything done. So they knock down competence. This is a very good defense mechanism, and this is a very nasty habit to get into. If somebody has a skill you don't have, you should not come up with reasons for why that skill is useless or shit or whatever. You should go, oh, let me try to learn that. You should get inspired, not rationalize your incompetency by knocking down what they can do. Basically like this guy did in his whole video. I don't know if he was joking. I don't think he's joking. A lot of people are going to say he's just joking. I don't think he is. This is how people rationalize incompetency. This is just literally what it is. He tries to make it all cute with his memes and stuff, but let's be honest. It's just he couldn't do it, and now he's coming up with rationalization for why he couldn't do it, so other people and him can feel better about themselves, right? Linux is not hard. Vim is not hard. It's just people learning things. Learning things is what is hard for people like this. Put it to you that way. And right, that's all I got. Don't fucking harass this guy or whatever. This is just a personality. I'm not trying to offend anybody here. Don't rate me in the comments. But more than anything, don't be incompetent and don't justify your incompetency. Learn, evolve, adapt. Do not be complacent. Do not be arrogant. Do not be ignorant. Thank you for watching. Bye.